Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the uncommon rock poison-type Pokemon Glimmet and its relatively rare evolution Glimmora, the two collectively known as the Ore Pokémon. Though strange in their form and more than a bit peculiar in the way that they wield their power, the members of the Glimmet family are unique creatures that can more than show how toxic some types of energy can be when wielded to the extreme.
Glimmet have pale purple main bodies that are shaped like a tuber of some sort, with a thin tip and tiny tail flanges inside, and with a more bulbous form to it as it reaches farther up before narrowing again towards its neck. Their head has a ring of dark blue petal-like extensions on the base of their neck, and a large pale bluish translucent cone that caps off their face, of which only a single pair of yellow pupilless eyes can be seen. Their evolved form, Glimmora, have a similar shape to their head as their pre-evolved form, though the cone is darkened to a more greyish-green color. Their core bodies are also now surrounded by enlarged petal-like structures from the neck that transition to a teal color at the tips and cover the entirety of their body, with the back of their frame containing a small set of purple flanges within, and a third even smaller set of teal flanges inside of those.
The exact biology of the members of the Glimmet family is not totally understood, as it seems that these creatures feed off a unique power that isolates them and keeps them mainly underground for the most part.
These creatures have hard, rocky bodies that are made out of a radioactive crystallized substance that comes in several different colors as a result of impurities that can be trapped inside of their bodies as they form and grow. They have heads that are covered in what look to be petals, but these are in fact crystalline growths that have a flexible outer structure and thus can be moved around, though it is advised to stay away from them as the crystals are poisonous to the touch and can be quite fatal if any part of them is ingested in substantial amounts. Uniquely, their eyes, which are protected by a long cone-shaped crystalline shield, observe the world through a unique energy-based vision system that allows them to see the space around them on the basis of the intensity of radioactive decay in whatever is around them, with the cone helping to filter out large concentrations in order to keep them from being overwhelmed in extremely hot spots. Outside of this, these species are able to make good use of their toxic forms as an offensive and defensive threat, as the signature toxic debris ability makes direct contact with them in an unwise position if one does not wish to have toxic spikes scattered around the feet of their Pokemon. Though in rare cases those that are extremely radioactive can also just poison anything that touches them regardless of type, giving them access to corrosion as a hidden ability. And while they might look quite pretty to some, there is no doubt that they are deadly and worth avoiding, especially given their fairly strong special powers. This is further highlighted in their base stats, as in the case of Glimmora, while the physical offensive power is weak and they don't have a hard of a body as other rock types, they still have notable speed and special power on their side, their base HP stat being above average for a fully evolved rock type Pokemon, the base defense stat being above average for a fully evolved poison type Pokemon, and the base special attack and speed stats being above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of both of their types, further possessing the highest base special attack stat out of all non-legendary and non-paradox poison type and rock type Pokemon in general, making them a serious threat in the right situations as a consequence. Because their forms are fairly weak at a young age, Glimmet tend to travel in groups underground and rarely try and interact with others if they can help it, instead using powerful acids in their bodies to melt down rock walls and extract minerals from them for sustenance, breaking down complex mineral compounds to produce energy. As with their evolved form, these creatures use their energetic forms to levitate off the ground and move around freely, attaching themselves to any surface they desire to feed on and potentially avoid anything that might try to make a meal out of them, unwise as that idea in itself may be. If they do feel that their lives are being severely threatened, however, these creatures will shake their bodies and scatter radioactive dust around them to try and poison whatever is trying to pose a threat to them, and they will not stop until they know for certain that they are safe once again. This pollen-like dust can cause severe reactions on those that breathe it in, but it thankfully isn't always a terminal case. Even so, caution is recommended when approaching them if they are attached to a wall, as they usually would prefer to simply float away otherwise to avoid threats. While it can take a bit for these beasts to reach adulthood, they do have a fairly high special attack stat for an unevolved Pokemon, and thus can make good use of their potent special attacks to drive off others in battle if poison alone isn't enough to guarantee them a victory. When Glimmet managed to evolve into a Glimmora, the small petals that line the sides of the head grow massive in form and create a much larger flower form that covers the entirety of their frame, both increasing the overall radioactivity and allowing them to gain access to the toxic spikes, spiky shield, and mortal spin moves, the latter of which they gain access to immediately after evolving. Much as with their pre-evolved form, Glimmora feed on the minerals and radioactive elements that are contained in rocky surfaces, but they are able to do this more effectively because they can use the poisonous petal-like crystals lining their bodies as a defensive shield to keep themselves from being directly attacked from the front, and if they feel they are truly threatened, they can charge up their bodies and fire beams of energy from the face in the form of power-generative modified sludge wave attacks, rendering them even more toxic threats than they ever were before. The radioactive energy that these creatures give off in their evolved state is not just much greater than ever before, but it has also changed signatures somewhat, and now seems to closely resemble the same sort of energy readings that are known to come from Terra crystals. Given that the pearl-like crystals have the same basic shape as Terra crystals as observed in terastalized Pokémon, it is possible that they may be connected somehow, and perhaps could have been born from, or at least influenced, by their presence in the Paldea region, especially given that they tend to be found extremely frequently in areas Zero's lowest reaches, but the truth of the matter is still uncertain. Regardless, these beasts can be a noxious presence with their powerful special attacks, and thus are worth keeping an eye on to counter in any way possible if they go on the offensive.
You know, I often don't mind it when I come across something that looks cute and potentially hazardous, but I'm not gonna lie, these critters kinda creep me out. Glimmet themselves are not all that big, but the toxic powder they can just shake off and onto others at a moment's notice is a serious health hazard and makes it a really bad idea to get near them. The fact that they hit extremely hard with special attacks at such a young age is also a great testament to their power, though the rest of their stats are pretty weak as compensation. Glimmora can be even creepier in some cases, as while they might look quite gorgeous from afar, the fact that they can literally shoot powerful lasers from their bodies at others makes them a terrifying sight once you know what they can do. Given that this is only exemplified by the fact that contact with them can cause acute radiation poisoning, it's no wonder that most people try and steer clear of them in the wild, if at all possible.
While their true origins connections to the Terra crystals in Area Zero might not be completely understood, the members of the Glimmet family are nonetheless potent beasts that wield incredible special power that many should be fearful of. It might take some time for them to get access to some of their better skills, but the toxic nature of their existence can make them more than a threat to almost anything, regardless of the circumstances.
Just do yourself a favor and try not to get too affectionate with them. They might like attention every now and then, but trying to give them a hug without wearing a radiation suit is only likely to give you a literal half-life with time.
Thank you all for watching this video. It always brings me great joy to see others enjoying the work I do to try and make the world of Pokemon and the fascinating creatures that lay inside of it feel as real as they possibly can. If you really enjoy my work, please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe, as I always do my best to respond to any and all comments that are left on my videos. In addition, if you wish to learn more about my work and help support it, you can find links to my Patreon page, as well as email and other contact information to my work on DeviantArt in the video description down below. Furthermore, you can find a link to my Discord server there as well if you'd like to get a first glimpse at what videos are coming up next and converse with other fans of the world of Pokemon. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a wonderful rest of your day.